word Bally means the town of or the home of or the place of. Any place that begins with the word Kill means the church of. Kilmallock, the hill of. Innis, the island of. Boher, the road of. Now there's some useless information. The highest peak of the Ballyhowras is west of us here. It's called Sea Finn. Gets its name from an ancient Irish warrior that lived in the 3rd century. His name was Finn McCool. Finn McCool was said to be a very, very big man, and when we were young, we were taught he used to sit on the top of that hill over there, and while he was sitting up there, he could be washing his feet in the River Shannon, and that's 25 miles away. There's a little hill just north of here. It's called Canuck Anya, which means Anya's hill or Annie's hill. Anya was said to be a goddess of fertility in pre-Christian times. She fell in love on that hill one fine summer's night, and the love-making was so passionate, the grass never grew there since.
It's true.
Yeah, I said to Margaret when we get married here, we'd get rid of the lawnmower. Very sad. Grass beginning to grow in the gravel out there now. Anyway, this is the old house where I was born and reared, built in 1684. The walls were built with a mixture of mud and straw, and the roof was of thatch. Until about 60 years ago, my father replaced the thatched roof. Facing south, of course, most of these very old houses faced south. Never a window or a door in the north wall. It was my father that put that one there. Traditionally, you wouldn't have a window or a door in the north wall. The belief goes back to Celtic times. Pre-Christian times, the Celts believed that all evil would come from the north. Also, of course, the people who lived here in the past would have paid a rent or a tax based on the size of the windows. So they kept the windows as small as possible. Got a little bit of light through the door they didn't have to pay for, because in these old houses in the past, you'd have a half door. Top half would be always open, bottom half, of course, as you'll understand, had to be kept closed, keep the chickens and the pigs out and the kids in. Direction seemed to be very important to the Irish in the past. Faced all their old houses south. They faced all their churches east. In other words, when you kneel in an old church in Ireland, be it Protestant or Catholic, you're facing east. Same applies to the old graveyards, all the headstones face east. When they bury me, I'll be buried under an old Celtic cross. Have you seen those big Celtic cross at all? A big stone cross with a big stone circle in the middle.
Yes. Yep.
The cross, of course, the symbol of Christianity, and the stone circle, symbol of the sun god, Luan. Because the ancient Irish worshipped the sun, and being very shrewd people, we tried to keep a leg at both sides. You'd never know who'd be right or wrong. Very superstitious people, the Irish in the past. They had many strange beliefs. They believed in things like leprechauns, luderagons, fairies, banshees, banshees, bishogs, other things that moved in the night. But the leprechaun that always caught our fancy when we were young. Came from an ancient tribe called the Tuhadadana. Big, tall people, didn't eat enough and got smaller and smaller, like me. If you're lucky enough to catch a leprechaun, you immediately become a multi-millionaire. Every leprechaun's got a crock of gold, you see. I've been trying to catch one all my life. When I do, I'm going to go on tour like you. It's not looking good now. Have you seen any leprechauns since you came to Ireland? Ah, you're not staying long enough in the pubs. If you stay in the pub till about 3 in the morning, you'd see lots of leprechauns.
John must have seen one.
Who saw the leprechaun? What pub was it?
No.
Anyway.
Which pubs were you?
Was it like that?
I'm not John, he's back there.
Today is John's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear John! Happy birthday to you! Hey! Now what were we my side.
Look at the leprechaun.
As you see the leprechaun, he saw them because it was his birthday.
I know.
And he drank too much.
I should tell you, Patrick, our son runs the farm now. He does all the work and I talk about it. It works very well that way. He got married to Siobhan. You met Siobhan above. Siobhan is Gaelic for Joan. But he married Siobhan about 10 years ago and they moved in here. They're trying to build a new house out the back, but they're trying to do it without a mortgage. So it only goes up when the money becomes available. In the meantime, they live here. And the 2 little boys live here too, William and Evan. My mother died here 15 years ago. She was 91 years of age. And we had a big wake here. About 2,000 people went through here in 2 days and 2 nights. Wakes in Ireland, of course, are a little bit scarce now in cities. But in rural areas like this, you still get wakes. The wakes in this valley would be run by the neighbours. The neighbours would supply the food and they'd look after the people. It would be up to the family themselves to look after the drinking of it, because different families would have different ideas about how much drink you should use at a wake. So long as it's enough, it's okay. I never miss a wake now, you know. Well, when you get old like me, you get to go into the parlour. Young people stay in the kitchen. In the parlour, the food is better, the drink is more plentiful, and the conversation is much better. Probably because the drink is more plentiful. The drink that we use at a modern wake, of course, would be whiskey for the men, sherry or brandy for the ladies. But when I was young, we used a drink called poteen. It's a kind of a drink you wouldn't make it in your own house. You'd make it up the mountain where you wouldn't get caught. If you happen to come across a little bottle of it while you're in Ireland, it's usually labelled holy water. My father farmed his farm before me. His name was William. The man before him was Patrick. There was Dennis before that, William before that, Dennis before that, and a Patrick before that. And they would all have lived through very hard times here, much harder than we live through today. They would all have paid a different rent at different times to different people for the privilege of living on this farm. In other words, they were tenant farmers. All the farmers of Ireland, of course, were tenant farmers, except the landed gentry and the titled people. When Oliver Cromwell, British soldier, came to Ireland in 1649, he didn't pay his army with money, he paid them with Irish land. So all the farmers of Ireland became tenant farmers of Oliver Cromwell's soldiers and had to pay rent for the privilege of living on what they thought was their own land. High rents and absent landlords caused many problems and many wars in Ireland. Around the year 1900, or a little bit before it, there was a lot of uprisings against the landlords and against the British, mainly because of high rents and evictions. The British government, finding it very, very difficult to control the situation, decided they'd allow the Irish farmer to buy his land back from the landlord. So they created a facility where he could pay for it over a period of 50 years. And it worked reasonably well. Until 1932, the new Irish government, led by Eamon de Valera, decided Britain had enough money got out of Ireland, so he decided the Irish farmer should buy his land back from the Irish government. My father paid the last payment on this farm in December 1961. They'd been paying one way or the other since 1649.
Wow.
There's a copy of the last payment over there on the table. It's the one in red. Wow. The Irish landholder, of course, had to pay a couple of rents. He had to pay a rent to the landlord. But he also had to pay a rent called the Anglican tithe. There's a copy of that there too. Payable to the Anglican clergy, based on the ability of land to grow potatoes. 1823, the Catholic Church decided they'd like to get in on the act, and they introduced a rent, and they all had their own way of enforcing it, of course. If we didn't pay the landlord, you were evicted. If we didn't pay the Anglican clergy, they confiscated your furniture or your cattle. But if we didn't pay the Catholic Church, that was much more serious, because then you didn't get the sacraments. Ma'am, do you know what'll happen to me if I don't get the sacraments? I end up in hell with all my friends. My mother made all her clothes. When the collar of the shirt would wear, she'd take it off, turn it inside out and put it back on again. And she made all her clothes in the old Singer sewing machine. It's over there on the table. That's my grandmother's sewing machine. Still works, but sadly, we don't have anyone to work it anymore. My mother kept poultry too, of course. All the women of Ireland, down through the centuries, kept poultry. She kept enough hens that would supply the eggs for the house, and the eggs that were left over and above she sold, made a little bit of money for herself. She kept turkeys too, sold those at Christmas, and she kept geese. And the goose was very important. The goose was a Sunday dinner. And if we didn't have goose for Sunday, it was back to salty bacon again. The main meal on Irish farms, that's the midday meal. We have our dinner in the middle of the day. It would be potatoes, cabbage and bacon. Been like that for centuries. The potato was introduced into Ireland in the early 1600s by Sir Walter Raleigh, and it quickly became the staple diet of the Irish. Many great advantages, of course, but one big advantage was you could grow lots of potatoes in a very small patch of ground, and there were many, many small landholders in Ireland. The pig became very important too, because the pig would live on the waste of potatoes. He'd provide meat for the table, manure for another crop, spare pigs, you could sell them, pay the rent for you. Very important to pay the rent. And all this worked very well until 1845, when a blight came on the potatoes, more than all the leaves and the potatoes rotted. 5 years before they got a cure for it. The cure was copper sulphate and washing soda, used as a spray. In that 5-year period, we're told that over 1 million people died of hunger and fever. Almost 2 million immigrated. 250,000 weren't born because of the famine. Queen Victoria of England sent a man to Ireland at that time, a kind of a famine relief agent. His name was Charles Trevelyan. And when Trevelyan arrived in Ireland and saw the evicted Irish eating grass on the sides of the road, he went to America and he pleaded with the American government. They gave him 3 shiploads of corn. I have a picture there at the table of one of them arriving in Ireland. Trevelyan was delighted to get 3 shiploads of corn, but the powers that be in Ireland at that time decided that the American corn was too hard for the Irish to eat. So they put it in storage down in Cork, and the rats ate it instead. But sure, it's all changed now. All the ladies now have careers of their own. They bring home microwave dishes, TV dinners and Chinese takeaways. Potatoes, cabbage and baked is not very important anymore. It's changed with the kids too. Collected every morning now by bus and taken to school. Brought back again in the evenings. They don't even get wet anymore. I'll tell you, it was very different when I was going to school. We walked through the fields to school, barefoot in the summertime. And I often think youngsters today, they miss out a little bit. We learn a lot going to school. We learn a lot about farming, a lot about nature. We learn the names of all the birds, the kind of nest they built, the coloured eggs they had. We knew every fox, tin and badger set and rabbit burrow. Sometimes you could get a little bit delayed and you'd forget about time. Our teacher stood at the door every morning with a long cane, and we learned the time very, very quickly. There was one old poem he insisted we should all know. He thought everyone should know this poem. Very, very important to him. We thought it was rubbish. By the time I'd left school, I'd almost forgotten again. When I got to 60 or 65, the words started to come back to me again. Now I think it's a great poem. Isn't it funny the way you change? It goes something like this. What is it all when all is told? Oh, what is it all when all is told? This ceaseless toiling for fame or gold? Fleeting joy or bitter tears? We're only here for a few short years. Nothing our own, except the silent past. Loving or hating, nothing can last. Each pathway leads to a silent fall. Oh, what is it all when all is told? What is it all? A grassy mound, where day or night there's never a sound, save the soft low moan of the passing breeze as it lovingly rustles the stately trees. Or a thoughtful friend with whispered prayer may sometimes break the stillness there. Then hurry away from the gloom and the cold. Oh, what is it all when all is told? What is it all? Just passing through. A cross for me and a cross for you. Ours seem heavy while others seem light. But God in the end makes all things right. He tempers the wind with loving care. He knows the burden that each can bear, then turns life's grey into heavenly gold. Oh, what is it all when all is told? Do you like my new tie?
That was a beautiful poem.
Margaret insisted I wear my new tie today. Very important people coming today, she said. You better straighten yourself up a little bit. I'm not allowed to take it off until you're all gone. And I've learned the secret to a very, very happy marriage. Do what you're told while she's looking. I was trying to get in this outside this morning, it was too long or too short, and I see something at the back of it and I couldn't understand it. Can you read that?
Total shade Trump. It's a Trump tie.
Made in China. I don't know.
Very impressive.
Thank you, ma'am. He's coming to Ireland shortly. He might bring me another.
He might.
Yeah.
Bright red one.
Yeah.
Bright green one.
Power tie, power
Yeah,
tie.
power tie.
And you're gonna pay for it too.
Anyway, I'm not going to get into politics now.
Bless you.
I'm old enough to realise that that would be the wrong thing to do.
Especially our two.
What's it doing out there, Edna? Is it raining?
Yes.
Doesn't matter. We won't melt.
Well, still, it wouldn't be very nice if it was raining.
It's not raining.
We all got wet as kids,
Yeah.
so we can take it.
Yeah, we're old enough that we actually, some of us actually walk to school, you know.
Yeah.
Walk to school.
Yeah. We walked this go.
I walked to school through snow.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we didn't walk through snow because we didn't have it.
That's it. You didn't miss it.
What's it doing now?
It's not raining.
We were just going out.
It's not, yeah.
Right, we'll go out to the cows.